Nixon came to power through several circumstances, and in his book, My Sixth Crisis, the first crisis he talks about was the confrontation that Alger Hiss and Whittaker Chambers had, which catapulted Nixon into fame. And that particular incident, I've tried to write about in an article called How Richard Nixon Came to Power. That was the use of planted evidence, which you get in conspiracies that I study very often. In this case, it was the Woodstock typewriter and the microfilm that catapulted Nixon to power. And the second crisis that Nixon had after the Alger Hiss Whittaker Chambers was called the slush fund, and he was accused of having more money than any other politician and getting it from somewhere. And the chapter in My Sixth Crisis is very interesting on the sources of money. Where did Nixon get the money? And he made his famous Checkers speech that my wife has a cloth coat, and I just received a dog named Checkers from a man from Texas. He doesn't say the man is Howard Hughes or that Howard Hughes is giving his brother money or where he's getting his money. The point was that while no other man who was running for Congress had the kind of money he had, or vice president, a secret society, a group of men whose names aren't published, a committee of 100 in California, put up the money to start Nixon's campaign fund, and they ran an ad in the paper, wanted a man to represent their particular interests. Well, this state grew into a warfare state and a munitions development state, aerospace, and the way he came to power is when he answered this ad. It was simply an advertisement. I have a copy here. It was in August 45 when 100 men in California put an ad. Wanted congressman candidate with no previous political experience to defeat a man who has represented the district for 10 years. Any young man, resident of the district, preferably a veteran, fair education, no political strings. They said no political. But this Richard Nixon, he didn't apply for the ad. The ad was run out in California. It said applicants will be interviewed by 100 interested citizens, and they're not obligated to the candidate in any way. Well, while that ad was in the paper in California and everyone who applied was turned down, Nixon receives a telephone call back east when he's still in the service. Do you want this job? Now, the man
from who?
From Mr. Perry, vice president then of the Bank of America. And at that point, then Bank of America just went on to be the largest bank in the world, the largest private bank in the world. And he called Nixon, who was an unknown man, and this committee of 100 brought Nixon to the West Coast and groomed him to run against Voorhees in California.
Is he still associated with this committee?
Well, he's associated with this group, and they changed their faces. And in 1963, after the Kennedy assassination, became known as another group called the Lincoln Club.